How's it going, everyone? My name is True Underdog and I'm here today with a Variation 3 tier list. This video topic was inspired by the comments section, and honestly it seemed very fitting as I have made a video on every single character's Variation 3 in Mortal Kombat 11. If any of you watching also have a fun idea for a future tier list video, please post down below in the comments section, and without any further ado, let's get started. So I definitely know who I want to go at the bottom right away. So we have Cetrion's Variation 3 and Cassie Cage. The biggest decision here is who wins out on being the worst of the worst. Because honestly, both these variations are bad for different reasons. Cetrion is completely random. That's the problem. You can't pick which one you get. And it also costs 2 defensive bars, so no wake ups and no way of escaping combos either. Whereas Cassie Cage just has a bad toolkit. The maneuverability costs a meter now when it didn't before. And the one gun seems okay for setups, but only in certain situations. And on top of that, she loses all the good tools that makes Cassie fun. So I don't know which one is worse here. I want to say Cassie just because you could have fun with the randomness of Cetrion. Nah, who am I kidding? Of course Cetrion is the worst. Random is never going to be okay. It should never be completely random which one you get. That's ridiculous. And then for the best, I think we know who goes up there. We have Johnny Cage and we have Garrus. Where you at, Garrus? Where are you hiding? Oh, there he is. I'm just blind. He definitely belongs up there. Very good Variation 3. Jackie's probably up there somewhere too. Ah, yes, and we have Sonya. Sonya's Variation 3 is actually very, very good. I made a video on it today. I think a ton of players are sleeping on her Variation 3. It seems super powerful. It might even be the best variation that she has, along with a lot of these characters. Does anybody else belong on the top row? I think Baraka's going to be just barely S tier. And I think Devore is going to be around there too. Keep in mind, I'm not ranking these characters overall, just their Variation 3. So how good is his Variation 3 compared to her Variation 3 and so on. Man, already this list is getting very tough to do. Okay, so I think that Kano's going to be A. It's an okay variation, not terrible. I think Frost is going to be around here somewhere. She may even be on the top row, honestly. Her Variation 3 is surprisingly good. Sindel, gonna be around the A area also, I think, in Variation 3. Good counter zoning, but nothing else really. Kotal Khan, gonna be up there probably, honestly. Nightwolf. Scorpion, I don't know, potential for Scorpion? I'm not sure. I don't think it's a bad variation at all. I think it could actually be one of his better ones, but Scorpion overall just lacks utility. Terminator definitely has some ease of use going on. He's not the toughest variation whatsoever. It's got the 50-50s. Sub-Zero has baby mode for his Variation 3, but it's nothing crazy, so I think A would be good for him. Scarlet may have potential, but not the best variation. Shao Kahn's going to be at the end of potential, probably. Shang Tsung might be around A also. Raiden's is just, I want to put it in potential. I almost want to put it in why bother, but I think in the hands of a good player, it may be something crazy. And it's honestly just a couple of buffs away from being a really, really good variation. Noob Saibot, probably at the end of A tier. Kung Lao, not sure. Probably behind Noob Saibot, honestly. Liu Kang, I don't know. Katana, she might be in the why bother tier, honestly, if I'm being completely honest. Gonna put her back here for now. Collector, at the back also. I don't know, this is tough. Jade gonna be somewhere around here maybe, just before all the terrible builds. And then we have Aaron Black. Very fun setups, especially in the corner. I think it has potential. I shouldn't call it this anymore. I should just call it B because I'm confusing myself by calling it potential. I do like the why bother tier though. It's pretty tongue-in-cheek. I find that funny. Let's all have a laugh at these characters whose variations were rushed out the door and not thought about very hard at all. Cabal. Oh yes, Cabal. Gonna be like way up here in the S tier. Kronika's not gonna be on here at all. Jax is gonna be either at the end of S tier or like at the start of A tier. Let's put him around here for now. I think Jax has a pretty strong Variation 3. It's just not as good as the other variations, but in terms of just its utility, it's pretty strong. Okay, so now let's break down every single one of these choices and try to rationalize them, and maybe as we're doing that, we'll shuffle some of these characters around a bit. So for starters, we have Johnny Cage at the very front, at the very top. I think a lot of people understand why. Fantastic zoning, safe on block, resets the neutral, really good down 1 pressure as well. Great variation. Honestly a bit too strong in terms of keep away, but it's very solid right now. Garrus Variation 3 has some of the best damage, some of the best setups, really good mobility. I think it might be one of his best variations, if not the best. He also has his own way of breaking out of combos at the cost of 2 bars, and he can do it while standing. So he has a standing combo breaker that also reduces the damage. Sorry, it removes the damage completely. It heals him. So a very, very strong build. Jackie has the crazy pressure in variation 3. Everything she does can hit confirm now into a full combo. It's not the most damaging, but still decent damage, and she also has some new 50/50s in that build as well. I'm not sure if it goes in front of or behind Sonya. Sonya still has the better pressure technically, and the better setups, and the better damage, but she has to actually summon the drone, whereas Jackie just always has access to her tools, whereas in theory, if you stay on top of Sonya and just never give her a chance to breathe, she can't summon her drone in this build. And then we have the S tier, so for starters, Cabal's gonna go in the front of everyone, I think. It's the most damaging variation, has some fun restand options, he can regain his health, he can put the opponent in a cloud where they take damage over time. Very strong build. He does lose access to some things, but I feel like it's a very, very solid variation. Super strong. And then Baraka's variation 3, great for a rush down, great for countering characters who think they're safe because he can just fly forward and punish characters who otherwise can't be punished. Very similar to Sub-Zero in his variation 2. Baraka just flies forward and punishes things now. He has great corner carry, he has some very good crushing blows, all that scary stuff. Frost also absurdly strong in variation 3. I may put her in front of Baraka simply because variation 3 might be her preferred build now. It doesn't seem like it on the surface level, but it's very good at zoning and counter zoning as well. Her drills keep her safe, they hit confirm for a full combo, they have a crushing blow as well, and then she has the dive bomb attack which can be safe on block and avoid projectiles. It's also just great for attacking from very, very far away, and then of course the game breaker is her bomb that can detonate even if she throws you, so she has unblockable setups. Very, very scary stuff, and it even goes off when she's hitting you, so she has some really inventive combos. And speaking of unblockables, D'Vorah has those all over the place. In fact, in this variation, it's her entire game plan. She has the low hitting bug, and then she has the overhead special move. Combine those both together, you have low, overhead, low, overhead, low, low, overhead, overhead, low, all that crazy stuff. And it's pretty much impossible for any human being to block, and even if she doesn't want to spin the bar, the bug can still snuff every wake up you go for outside of wake up 3. So very strong character, very setup based, great mobility too, she can fly down, close the gap, she can even chase after you mid combo with the flight and hit you as you're getting up. Pretty crazy stuff. Kotal Khan has the most damage and defense in his variation 3. I think Kotal Khan might be in front of her, honestly, mainly due to his comeback factor, and he can also negate a lot of keep away. D'Vorah, once she gets behind on life in variation 3, has a very hard time catching up. It's death by 1,000 paper cuts. Whereas Kotal Khan, even if he doesn't have very much health left, he can just gain it back. He does 2 defense totems and then the sunbeam, and he can regain his health safely in the corner from a distance. He can even negate all keep away, even from Johnny Cage when far away. And then if he does 2 damage totems and closes that gap, he has unbreakable 40% combos, which are very scary and not tough to do. Only costs you that 1 bar, he just explodes in damage. It's kind of crazy. And that's just 2 damage totems. If he had 3 out, he has some very scary combos that you can't escape from, and once again only cost 1 bar. So I think this build is very scary, not to mention the meter burn disc keeps him safe and also guarantees a totem summon. So very strong build, super strong. Jackson variation 3 I don't know enough about. I did make a video on it, but it seems fun. He has the low, which can launch for free to start off combos or extend combos sometimes, and the clap means a new way to extend combos. Doesn't cost bar, it just requires him to be heated up, so very strong in that regard too. I think Jax's variation 3 might go in front of D'Vorah's. I don't think it's going to be better overall compared to his other builds like D'Vorah's is. I think D'Vorah's variation 3 might be one of her better builds, but in terms of just variation 3 versus other variation 3s, I think Jax's might be better. I don't know, I'll let D'Vorah shine for now because I think she has potential. I'll leave her here for now, but in my heart of hearts, I think Jax might be in front of her, but I want to give the benefit of the doubt to D'Vorah and see what she can do. And then we have the A tier. This is possibly going to be the toughest one to figure out myself. Kano's variation 3 has the best combos, has some mix-ups here and there. It's mainly just a combo build though, that's what it's for. Oh, also really good counter zoning. He has a pretty good projectile that you have to block, you can't avoid it. And if you trade, it's a crushing blow just like Kotal Khan, so it's a pretty good anti-zoning game too. And then Sindel's variation 3, really good counter keep away or keep away herself if she wants to do it. And unlike other characters like Jade who can hop into the air and throw projectiles, Sindel can actually get combos from hers, so that's pretty scary too. Nightwolf I feel bad for because variation 3 honestly isn't bad. It's pretty fun. Once again, it's a jack of all trades but master of none. It just seems pretty decent, nothing crazy. Maybe it goes in front of Sindel, if I'm being honest. Terminator's variation 3 seems really good on paper because he has 50/50s that lead to full combos and you can't fuzzy guard them. But at the same time, his zoning gets really bad and his counter zoning gets really bad. So he just suffers in a lot of matchups in Variation 3, so I think I like him being here. Aaron Black I'm going to push back a bit. So we have Sub-Zero. Sub-Zero's Variation 3 is super easy because he has overhead low, which is then safe on block. Some people have told me you can jump to avoid the amplified follow-up. I want to test that and see if that's true. It seems like it might be, and if you do that, you would get a full combo on him, but I haven't tested it yet. But even so, it's a very safe build and still pretty strong. Sub-Zero still retains a lot of his crushing blows, still a very scary character. He still has 50-50, still has good counter keep away without spending any bar, very scary character still. And then we have Shang Tsung. I've heard a lot of pro players talking about how Variation 3 has a lot of potential with Shang Tsung. The problem is it's not super simple to make work. It requires a lot of dedication and practice, kind of like Kotal Khan. So a lot of people who main Shang Tsung are just sticking with Variation 1. It's a lot more straightforward, a lot easier to make work. But apparently Variation 3 has a lot of gimmicks, a lot of mix-ups, a lot of crazy pressure stuff. It's a very scary variation apparently, so I can't wait to see what pros do with it. And then for Jade. Jade's once again seems really strong on paper. I'm not sure where to put her honestly. I like her being here for now, but she could just as easily be way up here. Her Variation 3 is fun. It has a teleport that's low and also safe on block. That's really terrifying, very scary stuff. She can reflect projectiles, and that weird reflect move can also launch you to extend combos, which is very bizarre. It's interesting. I think she can't go purple in this build though, which is kind of weak. She has the reflect, but that's not nearly as good as going through projectiles. And then for Noob Saibot, it's just a damage variation. That's all it is. Really lengthy combos, very fun, tons of damage. He can convert off of pretty much anything, so it's a lot of fun to do his combos. They're not tough to do either. But at the same time, his keep away is the worst, his counter keep away is the worst in this build, and his overhead's not really a mix-up offline. It could work online, maybe, and it can also extend combos, but only after very specific strings, so not the best. Even so, I could see it being a fun variation for sure, just not super competitive, so I like it being here. Really good combos, but everything else is kind of lacking. And then for Kung Lao, I'm not sure. People keep telling me it has potential, and I did see some pro players experimenting with it when all these variations first came out, but at the same time I haven't seen anything from it since. I still do think it's the weaker of all of his variations. It's only specific against certain matchups, so not super strong. It can avoid some zoning to an extent. It has some interesting meterless combos, so that's nice, but Variation 1 does that much better and converts much easier. If he was just allowed to have his regular hat spin, it would be like way up here. But he doesn't, so it's way back here instead. I think I'll even put him behind Aaron Black. I don't think he has more potential. Aaron Black's Variation 3 looks like so much fun, and I feel like against a lot of players online it could be really strong. It lets him combo into his own crushing blows, he gets damage off the acid now with the new crushing blow, he can knock you into the bear trap to get even more damage, in the corner you can't escape it unless you do a wake up 3, and he can just block you in that situation. It just lacks all the fun combos, it lacks the gun cancel which can keep him relatively safe on block, doesn't have any of that, so he leaves himself very exposed and his combo damage goes down a lot outside of the corner. And if the bear trap's not on screen, it's even harder to get combos. And then we have Collector, once again, very good combos. I'm gonna move him all the way up here. I think his combos might be the most damaging in the game without a crushing blow. And then when you do get the crushing blow, he's getting like 45% for 1 bar. So that's pretty crazy. And then Collector already has some of the best inescapable combos in the game too, where you can't break away because you're still on the ground. Now sadly, just like Noob Saibot, that's all this variation has. And unfortunately, I heard they actually nerfed his disc toss that he throws. It's much slower now. It used to be faster, which is interesting. Collector, just like Cassie, his build seemed really good before they actually came out because you knew what they were going to have, but then they nerfed them, and they're not as good as you thought. This row is the one that's going to be the toughest to actually figure out. May have to move some things around. So Scorpion's Variation 3 has everything to make it strong, especially online in Combat League. It's really good. It has 50-50s. It even has a move where he does an overhead and a low at the same time, and you can't tell which one is which. So that's gimmicky as all heck. Seems very ridiculous. The combos are really great, but I can't imagine doing them online very easily. Offline they're already pretty tough, but they do some decent damage and they're very creative combos with his neutral jump down punch move. It's really fun, rebounces the opponent. So he has some good combos too. I think this variation has a lot of potential, but I haven't seen anybody use it yet. So it may be one of those builds that just seems really good on paper, but in application it's just not that good. And then we have Scarlet. Once again, just like Cassie and Collector, it seemed like a very good variation, but they nerfed the boiling point hitbox for pretty much no reason. So before, she would have had the easiest damaging combo in the game. It was like a very simple combo, spend 1 bar, and it was like a guaranteed 35%, and they took that away, which was ridiculous. Now she can't do that, and it's kind of sucky. She has a cool restand option, which is nice, and it leaves her at plus frames. She can also buff her damage, and I think she also gets reduced damage from a distance, so she can play better keep away. I think people could make Scarlet work, but for whatever reason that I can't quite figure out, a lot of pro players have just dropped Scarlet altogether. So I haven't seen any high level play of Scarlet's Variation 3 as of yet, at least not at tournaments. Shao Kahn's Variation 3, see, now we're getting in the bad territory. Shao Kahn has a pretty terrible Variation 3. I don't want to say it's useless, but it's like, why would you use it? It might have some application. Once again, it has fun combos. I've noticed a trend. A lot of these Variation 3s are just combos, but nothing else. They're not balanced at all. And it's kind of ridiculous, but that's what I feel about Shao Kahn too. Really fun damage, some fun combos, but that's about it. And then Raiden's Variation 3 is meant to be a crazy setup variation, and it would have been all the way down here if they hadn't patched it a little bit. He used to actually be minus on hit. In fact, I think he was fully punishable on hit for one of his moves in Variation 3, and thankfully they fixed that, and at one point they went so overboard that he actually had an infinite combo in the corner that the opponent couldn't escape because they were still standing, and that was just ridiculous and broken, but he could do it. If you watch Super, he actually pulls it off in one of his online matches. And a lot of people in the comments were like, yeah, I would have rage quit too. That's a ridiculous bug and a bit of an exploit. But even so, just know at one point Raiden did have an infinite. But once again, I think if we buffed him in a couple of ways, it could be a good variation. As Sonic Fox mentioned, and as I mentioned earlier than him, you can actually combo into his back 2 in that variation. So you can do back 2, the lightning strikes him, and then do back 2 again, and it's a crushing blow. He combos into his own crushing blow, just like Aaron Black in Variation 3, so there's potential. The problem is it's very tough to actually make it work. So, we'll see what it can do in the future. Once again, couple of buffs might be there, but right now, pretty terrible. And then we have Katana. Definitely gonna put her in front of Liu Kang. Gonna put her in front of Raiden too. Honestly, Katana might be way up here. Like, maybe around here, yeah. So Katana has some 50-50s in her new build, and she has a low hitting fan, and she has a new crushing blow. The thing is, she still has all the problems that she's always had. Her combo damage is very, very low. And thankfully, if you spin the bar on her low, it's completely safe on block, which is nice. It's very low risk, low reward, but at the same time, it's like nothing crazy about Katana. She needs that damage buff, and the developers seem intent on giving her everything but a damage buff. And then we have Liu Kang, who I honestly am considering just putting down here because he does feel like why bother in his Variation 3. It used to have a bit of a bug to it, where you could actually combo into his crushing blow, but now it's like you have to do 2 raw special moves back to back, and it's kind of like the no mix-up, like someone said in the comment section, because once you land the low, they're just afraid of the overhead constantly, so they're gonna keep like blocking high over and over again, so you just keep doing the low. I could see that happening, but once again, it's death by 1,000 paper cuts because the low doesn't hurt that much. And also the combos got reduced. Used to, you could combo into his crushing blow, but now it has to start combos. He has a teleport, which is almost useless because he's either minus or completely punishable when he does it. Just nothing crazy about it. He has a command grab, but the damage is super low. Again, he could be in the why bother section, but I don't want to say he's terrible. It's a kind of fun variation to mess around with, but that's about it. You're just playing around with it. You know what? I'm doing it. I'm putting all of them down here up until Katana, and then I'm moving all of these guys down here as well. I think it just works. This makes a lot more sense to me. Yeah, here we go. Now we're looking a bit more balanced. So last but not least, we have Cassie Cage and we have Cetrion. I kind of already explained why they're at the bottom, but I'll reiterate one more time. Cassie Cage has to spend bar now for her mobility option, which she didn't used to have to do that. Now it costs a bar, a really weird nerf that didn't need to happen. And then her projectile that hits low can be really good on the opponent's wake up, but they could roll away to avoid it, they could do a wake up 3, all that crazy stuff. She gets a new crushing blow, which is fun, but outside of that, not really that great. I actually have seen some pro players messing around with it and they all agree it's pretty useless, so she's down here. And then Cetrion's is just random. She can't choose which ability she gets, and all the abilities seem pretty fun, but she can't pick which one she gets, and they cost 2 bars of defensive meter. I feel like if they were either not random or only cost 1 bar, she would shoot up to like here, almost instantly. But those two things combined make it a why bother variation. Whew, alright everyone, that's about it for this tier list. Thank you so much for watching and I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like down below, it really does help my channel out a ton. And then while you're down there, please let me know your thoughts on this tier list, or feel free to post your own tier list down below as well. And finally, why not keep that combo going by subscribing and ringing that bell? That way you never miss a future video. Make sure to come back next time, and as always, stay underdogs.